oh my gosh, my little cousin, well, she's not little, she's a freshman in college, but she just messaged me. She's like, hey, I know this is random, but do you have any book recommendations? And I'm like, girl, do I have book recommendations? Do you know what I do for fun? Read. We've truly come full circle, because I remember I would go down to Florida where my cousins live, and I would make a huge list of all the books I wanted to get through, and I would be like reading constantly. And she was younger. She was like, I don't know, 13 or 12. And she was like, why are you reading for fun? Like, what is this? Because she had such a negative association with reading, because it was always assigned reading. So she never got to pick her books. They were not things she was curious or interested about. So she had associated reading with a tedious, like, academic task, as opposed to a fun, like, hobby or pastime. So I was like, oh my God, Sophia is messaging me about fun, romance, plot-driven books. Like, amazing. We've come such a long way. So there is hope out there, folks. I'm just saying. Anyways, we're here for a wrap-up. And I actually read a lot of really good stuff in October. I'm going to try and do, like, rapid fire, because I feel like I've talked about most of these. There's videos, like dedicated videos to most of these books, so I don't want to repeat myself. I say that like every wrap-up video. But anyways, yeah, let's jump right in. So the first book it was like an in-betweener, because I read most of it in September, and then I just finished the last little bit in October, and that was Satellite Love by Genki Ferguson, who is a lovely Canadian author. He's like 25, maybe 24, already has a book out. I too am 24, and what do I have to show for myself? Nothing. Just kidding. But anyways, it's just very impressive and just so cool. Loved this book. It takes place in a city in Japan, and we follow the protagonist. She's a young girl. She's in middle school, navigating a world, feeling lonely, isolated, lacking connection in her life with other humans. So she personifies the satellite, because she's obsessed with space and space explorations. And she personifies this satellite, and we follow her journey with this friend of hers. It'll definitely get you in the feels. The writing's really beautiful. You really feel for Anna. That's her name. And it's a lovely little read. So I would definitely recommend it if you want something melancholic, a little sad. This is the book for you. Then I read The Woodwife by Terri Windling, and this was probably my favorite read of the whole month. I just devoured this book. It was unlike anything I've really read before. We follow a woman who is a poet living in LA. She's divorced her husband, who's a very successful music producer / musician, and she's given this opportunity to move to Tucson, Arizona, because her mentor and dear friend, much older than she is, his name was Davis Cooper, I believe. Yes, my memory did not fail me. Davis Cooper, who is a world-renowned poet and just literary figure, dies and leaves in his will his entire estate and everything in it to her name. Maggie Black is the protagonist. So she takes this opportunity, moves to Arizona, and just unlocks this magical realm and immerses herself deeply in the landscape, the magic of the desert, meets all these interesting people that live in Cooper's property, and many things unfold on this canyon. And I don't want to spoil the story too much. Please watch that video where I talk a lot more about this book, because it was such a magical, phenomenal read. So I'll leave that downstairs. Gorgeous. Loved it. Then I tried, well, actually, I could be doing this in order, or I could not, because I don't remember anymore. But soon after I finished The Woodwife, I picked up Harrow by Joy Williams, and this was kindly sent to me by Penguin Random House Canada, and I am forever thankful for them. However, this book and we did not connect, we did not vibe. In fact, I got really irritated and annoyed, and then I just sat myself down and I was like, you don't owe it to anybody to finish anything. There are plenty of great books out there that you haven't read, so why are we wasting time on one that we're not enjoying? So I DNFed it. I was super drawn to this book, and I'm really kind of sad to report that I just didn't like it. It's a kind of like climate fiction type book where we're following this young girl who, her mom is obsessed with the fact that she died temporarily when she was a little baby, and that has, in her mom's eyes, made her into this like important person, essentially. And the mom dedicates her life to trying to get this the daughter to go to all these specialist doctors to figure out what happened in her brain and whether she's like a gifted special child. And she ends up taking the kid to this like boarding school situation where everyone's supposed to be really enlightened and like special. But then the world is also falling apart and very chaotic, and so she ends up leaving. The school ends up closing, I believe, and she ends up going on a journey to find her mom, who's supposed to be in this like weird conference in this lake, and she ends up going to that place, but obviously the mom's not there and everything is in complete ruins. You know, there's, like I said, natural disasters happening all the time. Climate crisis has just reached an all-time high. But I just found it to be so absurd. Like the conversations that the main the main character has with people are so incredibly annoying, frustrating, and like I said, just totally absurd that I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I can't relate to any of the characters. I find them all just unbelievable, and the whole story was kind of weird, and I don't know. I just did not vibe with this whatsoever. I made it to page 110, and then I just called it quits, unfortunately. So I don't know, like maybe I'll give this another whirl, although I highly doubt it because like I said, I just found myself like so frustrated because I wanted so much more of the story. I mean, it kind of had a really good like blueprint or really good like skeleton like idea, and the way that it was executed was just like not it. Sorry, Joy Williams, because I know she's quite a famous, like highly esteemed author, but not for me. Okay, hello, this is editing me, and classic me, I forgot to mention one other book that I read last month, October, and that was Yuri Herrera's The Transmigration of Bodies, which was the final book of his that's been translated to English that I hadn't read. Did not disappoint. It was so good. I think the order in terms of favorites would be Signs Preceding the End of the World, The Transmigration of Bodies, and then Kingdom Cons. The Transmigration of Bodies opens up with the introduction of the main character, who is goes by the Redeemer. No person in this book has an actual name or names given to them by the Redeemer in terms of either a function that they play or a name based on something that they represent. The Redeemer is kind of this facilitator, if you will, in the like criminal underworld of some Mexican city or town, undisclosed to us. Summer wakes up and there's news about this epidemic that is taking place where you can die or become very sick if you are bit by a specific mosquito or bug that carries the virus around. So the government is like, everybody stay home, do not be scared, but like low-key be scared because we don't know what's going on exactly. We know how the disease is transmitted via this bug, so close your windows, don't leave your house, that kind of thing, which we're all familiar with. Does this ring a bell? Anyways, so everyone's quarantining. However, he gets a phone call for a job, and he needs to exchange, for a lack of a more poetic way of saying it, but he needs to do an exchange of bodies. So there are these two rivaling families, and both of them have what the other one wants, and that is certain people that belong to each of that are members of the rivaling families. And so the Redeemer's job is to bring these two people back to their like rightful families, if you will. So that's what the story is about. Just meet all these interesting figures. We also get to see the Redeemer's home life. It's a very like thinky man book, if you will. Again, I am always in complete and utter amazement at the way that Herrera uses language to set such a particular tone in all of his novels, as well as obviously the translator that does just a phenomenal job in conveying not only what he's trying to say explicitly, but like I said, just the tone of his books is unlike anything I've read before. And like I said, the use of language is just really, really visible and something that I really admire in Herrera's work. So yes, that was another super brief but super powerful tiny novella that I read this month that I just didn't want to forget about mentioning, because I highly encourage you to read Yuri Herrera's work. He is a phenomenal novelist. I wait to read what else he writes, and now we can resume. Then I read Chelsea Girls by Eileen Myles, and this book prompted my new interest, which is listening to author interviews on YouTube, like I've mentioned on this vlog. I find Eileen Myles very fascinating. I love the way that they write so cleanly, but still evocative and engaging. Really enjoyed reading about this moment in their life and putting it to paper. This book actually took them around 25 years, I think, to publish and release. And then it was out of print for 9 years, and now it is back among us. So yes, this was a beautiful discovery. Thanks to, again, my friend Eva, who I promise I'll have on the vlog soon, because I read the rest of the books actually that I'm going to talk about have all been her recommendations, and these are all her books that she kindly has lent to me. But yes, beautiful story documenting their life. Well, it's auto-fiction, I guess I'm going to call it, although I think all these short stories in this book are based on Eileen's actual lived experiences, because as they say in one of the talks I listened to them speak at, like, why do I need to use my imagination when real life has gifted me all these amazing, crazy, ridiculous experiences to write about. So yes, loved this book. I also read Lisa Robertson, the Bodilier Fractal. If you are a reader that enjoy really, really beautiful sentences, this book specifically, but also Chelsea Girls is one to look out for. But this one, holy shit. This is probably the most intellectual and just beautiful sentences I have maybe ever read. Like, this woman put so much care in picking every single word in every single sentence. Like, no word is out of place. Every word is so meticulously crafted for that sentence, for the sentiment she wants to get across with that sentence. I mean, I could just go on and on. You need to pick this up. Huge brain energy. So beautifully done. Just the first page alone is gonna grab you, and you're gonna know, holy shit, Lisa Robertson is on some other shit. Like, no one can compare. And I really hope that more people read her work. I actually am thinking to order some of her poetry via the library, because this woman is incredible. Her work is impeccable. Judging by this alone, it's just masterpiece. But and then I read the Red Parts autobiography of a Trial by Maggie Nelson. also gifted to me by Eva, and I read this in one day, in one sitting. I woke up, got my tea, did not get up from the couch. Well, it's a lie. I did because I have to refill my tea and I have to make some lunch and breakfast, but I read this in one sitting and it was the best thing I could have done. This book was so intimate, captivated my attention so much so that, like I said, I literally just read it in a day, and we are taken back back to a time in Maggie's life where she decides to write about her aunt, Jane, the murder of her aunt Jane. And that in itself is an entire different book that came before this. But this book deals with the resurgence and reevaluation of that supposedly closed case because new evidence has been introduced and a new suspect and a new culprit for the crime has been charged. And so she decides to be part of the hearings and be part of the trial 10 years after 10 or maybe even more years after the fact. And she joins her mother and kind of reopen that event in this family's history. So really well done. I just love Maggie Nelson. I will read anything by her. Super gripping, really beautifully nuanced look at this very particular event that marked her family as well as her in a different kind of way. She never met her Aunt Jane. So anyways, loved it. Love Maggie Nelson. I want to read Jane because kind of complete the story, although I started backwards, which I don't mind. That's hopefully what's next for me in terms of entering the Maggie world again. But yeah, those are all of the books that I read in October. Like I said, it was a great reading month. I got a lot of reading done, which felt really good. And I hope to continue that in November. Let me know what you read. What were your highlights for October? And what are you looking forward to reading in November? Because we're already well underway to the end of November. Anyways, yeah, I will catch you all later, and I hope you're having a beauty of a day. Bye.